In this video, we will learn how to make the Estonian bobble stitch called a nupp. This stitch is often used in lace knitting in Estonia, but it also adds a nice bit of texture when combined with other stitch patterns. It creates not a super raised, but a nice added textured bobble that is a small oval shape, reminiscent of a flower bud or a small button, which the name nupp, singular form, or Nupp Bobble, plural, means in English. This cluster or small bobble is created by making multiple stitches out of one stitch, and then on the following row or round, depending if you're working flat or in the round, is decreased back to one stitch, making this lovely little bobble. So let's get started. So I'm going to work a few nuppud, that's the plural for nupp in Estonian, or bobbles, on my swatch here. So what we're going to do first is knit up to the first nupp. So your pattern will tell you when to work one. I'm going to be doing this on a swatch that is knit flat. You can also do this working in the round. So I've just knit a few stitches and now I'm going to work my nupp. Now you will always be working kind of the first, or like the setup half of your nupp on the right side. So this is regardless of whether it's knit flat or in the round. It's especially important if it's flat. What we're going to do is basically out of one stitch make more stitches. So usually it's between 5 and 9 stitches. In some cases it can be more. It's always an odd number and you'll see why in a moment. We're going to make a whole bunch of stitches out of the one, which is going to make up our bobble, and then on the next row or round, if you're working in the round, we'll decrease back to one stitch. So I'm now going to work making all of my additional stitches out of this stitch. So I'm going to be making 5 in this little tutorial. So I'm going to go in, I'm first going to knit. So I'm going to knit a stitch. So I have one stitch here. I'm going to leave the stitch that I've just worked in on the left needle. Now I want my loops, basically loops or the stitches I'm making out of this one stitch to be loose, because we're going to be working them all together on the next row around, and it's easier when they're not super tight. So now I'm going to make another loop. So I'm going to be making 5 in total. So I'm going to do a yarn over. So now I have 2. Then I'm going to go back into that stitch, knit. Now I have 3, yarn over, that's 4, and then go back in one more time for 5. So you'll be alternating between knit, yarn over, knit, yarn over, always ending on a knit, so that when I slide this off the needle, it's all contained. So I've kept this loose, so you'll see here are my 5 stitches that I've made out of one. So it's the one stitch below, and then I have 5 loops which are made of knit, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit. So if you were doing 7, you would add another yarn over and knit, and again 9, just adding more. And then you slip off. We'll do that again. So I'm just going to knit a few more stitches and we'll make another one. And we'll do, again, I'll do 5. So we'll work it, do one more stitch here. Okay, so we'll make one here now. So I'm gonna go in, knit, again, make sure it's loose. So it's gonna be looser than my tension and just kind of my regular knit stockinette section, because I need to stick my needle in to decrease all of the loops that I'm making. So I've knit one stitch, I've left that stitch on the left needle there, I haven't slipped it off. Now I'm gonna do my yarn over, then go back in that stitch on the left needle, knit, again, keep it loose on that right needle, yarn over. So now I have 4 here, you can count 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to be doing 5. Again, it's always an odd number, so you end on a knit stitch. So I'm going to go back into that stitch on the left, knit, and now I'm going to slide it off. So now I have this cluster here of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I've got 2 here, so I've got 1 Nupp here and 1 here. So what I'm going to do is just knit to the end of my row, because I'm doing this flat. And then on the next row, if you're working in the round, it'll be a round, we're going to decrease all of those stitches we've made because we've now increased. And usually we don't want to add additional stitches. We want to go back to the same number, and that's going to make our bobbles. So I'm just going to turn around and work doing this flat, so on the wrong side. What I'm doing here will work in the round as well. So what I'm going to do is work up to my Nupp. So it's over here. You can see all those clusters there. So whether you're doing it flat, you'll be purling there. If you're doing this in the round, you'll be knitting to that point. So I'm just going to purl over to there and just about there. Okay, so here is my Nupp. You can see that cluster. Now this is where that keeping it loose is really important. I'm now going to be purling all of these loops together. So I want to stick my needle, my right needle in. I do like to count how many I have on there just to make sure I've gotten them all. So I've got 1, 2, there we go, 3, 4, and 5. And so we're going to decrease. So if you are working flat, like I am, then when you get to it, you're going to be purling all of the stitches or the loops of the Nupp together. So we'll be doing a purl together. If you are doing it from the right side, if you were working in the round, it would be knitting all of those stitches together. So I'm going to be knitting 5 together, purling 5 together in this case. So I've stuck my needle in purlwise through all of those loops. Again, this is why it's important to make sure they're loose enough so that you can get in there easily. And then I will purl them together. Now it's good to make sure that you're catching all of the loops because this is really important. If you miss some, then you'll have kind of a loose flappy thing hanging out. So make sure you get all of your loops, purl them together if you're doing it on the wrong side, knitting them together if it's on the right side, and come off. And then I'll tighten that. And what you'll see, if we kind of turn it around, that is our Nupp. Look a little bit more easy to see once we work back around. So I pull that stitch tight, and then we'll just work up to the next one that I did on here, just to kind of recap how to do that again. So come along, and there it is. So because I'm working on the wrong side, I'm going to be purling all the stitches together. If I was on the right side, I'd be knitting them all together. So I'm going to stick my right needle through all the loops. In this case, I'm going to be purling, so purlwise. If you are not sure you got them, you can take a moment and count. So I did a Nupp with 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm going to purl them all together because I'm doing the wrong side. If it was the right side, knitting them all together. And then I will pull that tight, and I'm just going to knit. I'm just going to knit, purl, basically work to the end of my row, and we'll turn it around to see what we've made. which would be our nice little bobbles. Okay, so there we go. So that is our little bobbles. So it's made up of all of those loops, and they kind of slant to the right hand side because we've purled all those together. Now these are quite small because I did 5. If you wanted a bigger, kind of more prominent bobble or nupp, you would work more stitches. So you would do something like 7 or 9. You can go more, but again, you want to make sure it's an odd number. And that's as simple as that.